So, hi there, Legacy Doctors. We are here once again with Dr. Miles Bodson, owner and founder of Cash Practice. We are sitting here in my office in San Diego. And today we're going to discuss in this next segment, Dr. Miles is going to let us know how does Cash Practice really help me grow my practice? How someone sitting out there in their living room or wherever they are around the world is sitting there going, well, okay, this is great. You know, it's auto debit and there's plans, but how is this actually going to allow the person to grow their practice and serve more people?
I love this question because it's pretty easy to answer as far as I'm concerned. There's really two ways of growing a practice. There's either more new patients or there's keeping your patients longer. It's either new ones or retention.
Right.
Now, there's a ton of great stuff out there on how to get new patients. Everywhere you go, there's how do you get new patients. I myself personally I was never awesome at getting new patients. I got them, but it wasn't like I was seeing 50 new patients a month like we see in a lot of places. My gig was retention. And the reason I love retention is because it's what spoke to me about chiropractic. You know, to me, lifetime wellness care, truly lifetime wellness care is really where chiropractic has its power. That's what attracted me to chiropractic was the whole notion of wellness. My office, the Chiropractic Wellness Center back in '94 when I named it, was the first wellness name in a business back in '94 here in San Diego. So retention has been my gig. In fact, when I sold my practice last year, stats showed that my average patient had been with me 300 plus visits over the course of 5+ years.
Wow.
The highest category were people in the 800 visits. And I used to tell doctors when they came and shadowed me, and I'm sure you have doctors shadowing you all the time, and I had doctors doing the same thing and come shadow me. And I would say, you're not going to be really impressed with what you see. I mean, I don't think what you see me doing is all that impressive. Although what I think you will be impressed is if you look over my shoulder and look at the charts of the patients I'm seeing, 80 to 90% of the people you see me see every day have been with me 200, 300, 400 visits. And that's what I typically see throughout a day. So how does Cash Practice help you grow your practice? It helps you with retention. That's what it's all built on. In fact, all of the tools are designed to help you do what you need to do to have retention. And one of the biggest areas I saw retention affected by, it had nothing to do with chiropractic, in fact. It had everything to do with consumerism and the way people purchase things. And what I discovered was, it's pretty amazing that when I think back about this, is that the more often people think about money, the less often they see you. And we often hear doctors talk about money's a problem for people. And I'm going to tell you, money's not a problem for people. What's a problem is you keep reminding them of the money over and over. It's sort of like you were just mentioning before about a friend who's buying a car. And when people shop for cars, if they're going to finance it, they're not looking at the purchase price. They're looking at the monthly payment and what's affordable for them. And in fact, the sales guy will even say, what's your monthly budget?
Right.
That's how people think in the general population. And when doctors are selling their services, if you sell them in a way that offers it in a monthly payment option, and then you automate that process, it's like magic. And then you combine that with patient education, good philosophy, all of the other stuff we do.
That's right.
You don't have to do anything to make people show up. They just stay. And we couldn't kick people out the door. And the point, again, I just want to emphasize that underlying theme of the more often people think about money, the less often they see you, is not unique to our profession. It is just the way people operate when they purchase a long-term service.
Yeah.
And that's not just, the systems are there to help implement that model.
And it's brilliant. I mean, Dr. Miles hit it right on the head. Think about this too. Your CAs at the front desk having to collect payments all the time, having to ask. It's almost like pulling teeth sometimes to get money out of people. And you know that if people are paying in your office every visit and they wake up and they feel pretty good, they might decide, you know what, I don't want to pay that 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 or $100 that day. I don't even want to pay $20 because I feel great.
Yeah.
But you know what? Those people know, hey, I'm on a program. I don't have to think about it. It's auto debit. I'm going to be in 3 times a week or 4 times a week or twice a week or once a week. It's already set up for them. The CAs are so excited. They don't have to worry about collecting payments from every person.
Yeah.
And I know for sure if you're serving high volume, and in our office, several hundred people a day easily, anywhere from 200 to 240 people a day coming through our doors, if you get CAs collecting payments from 200 or 240 or 230 people a day, they're not going to want to be your CAs for very long. But if they're set up on plans, whether they're prepaid or monthly or auto debit certainly is the most important thing. But they can pay in advance if they want, and your system also offers that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to address 2 things you just said. If you have your CA collecting at the front desk, by eliminating that activity, you will save, in the average office out there that's seeing 120 visits a week, they're going to save about 40 hours of payroll per month, we've calculated, just by automating payments and removing the staff from having to collect money. Now, the other thing you just mentioned was, what was the other thing you just mentioned? In regards to, The prepayments.
Yep.
Yes, we can do prepayments, but I want to emphasize this point because I know a lot of doctors who are watching this say right now are going to say, I do plans, I do prepays. And I did it myself too.
Yep.
And I just want to take 1 minute to kind of talk about this. We still offered them as an option, but it wasn't the default way we did things.
Right.
When it was the default way I did things, what I discovered was, first of all, I'm borrowing money from my patients. And it became painfully obvious when 1 week in practice, I had 3 families had to leave because they were in the military. Something happened and they had to transfer. And I had the pleasure of writing $10,000 in refunds that week.
Right.
And I quickly realized, I'm borrowing money from patients. This really isn't mine until I render the services. And I didn't feel comfortable with that. I also discovered that my retention, my transitioning people to wellness was much greater. I had greater success and more longevity with these people who were on monthly auto debits.
Right.
Because Mark, if you were my patient at the end of a year of care and I said to you, last year you paid us $4,000, whatever it was, and now your new plan's $1,800 a year, $1,900 a year, you have a decision to make. And every time there's a decision, there's an option to opt out.
Right.
Versus if I said, Mark, great news, you're ready for wellness care, you've been paying us $350 all along, hey, good news, it's going down to $175. That makes it really easy for you. I've removed the difficulty of the financial decision by lowering the monthly payment associated with transitioning to wellness. And by doing so, it became almost default that people transition.
Yeah, and they almost feel like they're getting a discount now.
Exactly.
Like, this is fantastic. This is a discount.
Yeah, it's good news.
And we train our doctors in Legacy that if they do prepays and they do these financial plans like that, that money's not theirs. Yeah. They have to keep that money in an escrow account. I mean, we've had doctors that collected prepays from families, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year, went out and spent that money, and like you said, a month later, someone loses their job and they want a refund, and there's always a refund policy. But now all of a sudden, this person doesn't have the money, the chiropractor, to write the check back to the practice member. That makes the profession look awful.
Yeah.
It obviously makes the chiropractor look awful, and it's a really strained relationship. So, we make sure that any prepay that we collect, and that's what we teach our Legacy doctors, that you better have that money set aside for 6 months in case something happens and that person needs a refund and whatever it may be. But certainly, that's a very, very, very adamant point that you made was about the transition. In people going from the corrective care, the regular corrective care, into wellness care and long-time, lifetime care. And really the way that Dr. Miles has set this plan up is to really make it easy for chiropractors. You heard what he said. The average chiropractor is only seeing 120 people a week. And what's the average retention rate in our?
Oh, it's like 24, if that.
If that. A last statistic I heard was like 18 or 19 visits. And you're talking about a chiropractor that kept people for 300 visits, 800 visits. We've got somebody in our office, I've been in practice now 11 years, and we've got somebody in our office that's been adjusted about 2,000 times, I think. And we honor these people, but there's got to be a system in your office set up so that people want to stay.
Right. So it's not the exception, it's the rule.
Exactly. And that's why Cash Practice is so brilliant, and that's how it's going to help you guys build your practice and continue to grow your legacy in chiropractic. And we'll see you guys on the next segment.